Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 13, Episode 95. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here this Friday, Steelers Nation. And Dave, we are well underway for the 2023 NFL Combine. The defensive front seven working out on the field on Thursday. The D-line, the edge rushers, and the off-ball linebackers today will be primarily the defensive backs. And so moving right along here on a very exciting day one of the Combine.
Yeah, I know I really enjoyed watching the TV coverage there on, what day was it, Thursday. And obviously you got the defensive backs. Going to be some more guys, fast guys running fast, right? And man, you had a couple of these linebackers actually killed it. Well, I mean, defensive linemen too, for that matter. So we got a lot to talk about. A lot of names obviously being linked to the Steelers. A lot of got Joe Clark and Jonathan Heitritter in Indianapolis. And I tell you what, there it's easy. It's probably easier to build a list of cornerbacks who the Steelers haven't talked to as opposed to guys that they have talked to. And that's obviously good news. I think everybody's been resigned to the fact that this team is probably going to draft a cornerback this year, and one probably sooner rather than later. And, you know, based on, you know, the way these meetings are going, and obviously needs probably a defensive lineman as well. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I just think overall, you know, every year, just generally speaking, a lot of draft nicks go into this and say, don't look at the combine, don't get caught up in the testing. And the second somebody runs 4.4 something, we all lose our minds. But we should. It's fun. It's still important. It's all valuable, especially with the rise of analytics and numbers and what, you know, overall aggregate metrics can tell us, things like the RAS score. Very important to these guys. And I thought, you know, everybody was flying yesterday. So let's start, though, basically, I guess, with the way the group worked out with the interior defensive line. And we've talked about how the class doesn't look maybe as strong as other positions. And this is a very obvious and serious position of need for Pittsburgh interior defensive linemen, especially with guys like Larry Ogunjobi, Chris Wormley pending free agents. After watching these guys work yesterday, I know it is just workouts. Do you feel any more confident or better about this class, Dave?
Defensive line, you know, for the guys that the Steelers obviously would be looking for up front there. I don't view this as I view this position group, at least from a metric standpoint of the what they look for aspect, not being all that good. Now, there's certainly some guys in here to talk about that don't match up. And that, you know, that's going to be one of the things that we've talked about since, you know, the Kevin Colbert being outgoing and Omar Khan taking over is, you know, what principles will they stick to that they have had during the past? In other words, will what they look for by Alex Kozora be highly shook up this year based on you know, the boxes checked from the measurable standpoints? Look, they are obviously, I think, going to like guys like Brian Brzee from a measurable standpoint. They're going to like Javon Dexter from a measurable standpoint, especially with what he put, you know, what he was able to accomplish there in the drills and all on Thursday there. Those two guys, you know, fit what they look for. Brzee from a, you know, moving past that from the hearts and smarts, you know, to the hearts and smarts and all that. They are going to love this kid. It's just a matter of where would they be willing to take a kid like that. I really think a guy like Javon Dexter helped himself for those of us that are outside of organizations when watching him move and the things that he did at the combine. But then you got to talk. I think you got to talk about obviously guys like Kalijah Cansey out of Pittsburgh. A guy that doesn't necessarily fit what they look for from a height and weight type aspect. But man, from an athletic standpoint, and you obviously go back to his tape, man, that guy killed it. I mean, are you running a risk of missing out on, you hate to continually say, the Aaron Donald comparison here, but it's hard not to, because he played at Pitt. You look at his measurables. They had the simulcast of his 40 run up against Donald. And then obviously all the numbers get compared to him, by NFL Network and all like that. So, he's a guy that would not match from a measurable standpoint. But man, once again, the athletic traits are there, the tape is there, and then another guy that we said that, man, there's gonna be a lot of conversation about this kid at the combine is that Adebawore out of Northwestern, undersized at 6'1" and 5/8. He did weigh I thought he weighed pretty decently at 282. I was a little bit concerned about that. Long arms, 33 7/8 inch, 10.5 inch hands. You go back to the Senior Bowl tape alone on that guy, and man, he was winning right and left. And he is a guy that at Northwestern moved all the way up and down the line. So back to your original question there, it's an intriguing class of defensive linemen if you look at it outside of what the Steelers, quote unquote, normally look for.
Right. That's one of my takeaways here. And I kind of talk about a couple players that you mentioned specifically in Brian Brzee and Gervon Dexter. They have the height and weight. Is the length going to be enough for those guys? It's going to be the concern. They're a little bit, and you want to give me your T-Rex comment here on both those guys. Brzee at 32.5 inch arm, Dexter 32.25. That's a bit atypical what Pittsburgh looks for. Usually we're talking 33 plus is kind of the benchmark that you would like to see, but those guys had good workouts. They're easy movers. They're good athletes for their frame, and I think they're going to be in that conversation for Pittsburgh.
They are. Heading into about a week and a half ago, I guess, I thought, okay, Brzee could probably potentially be in play at 17. I've from what I've seen on the tape. Now, look, he's got Brzee's got the tape that, what's that meme of that girl in the kombucha or whatnot, where she makes all those different faces after drinking a sip.
I don't know if I know that one.
Yeah, you'll know it if you see it. Where first she shakes her head, and then she raises her eyebrows, and then she kind of shrugs, and she goes through all.
Oh, she was drinking kombucha in that? Is that what the context is?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Look at me. 55-year-old man.
You're nailing pronunciations. You're talking about memes.
Yeah,
this is a historic Friday.
His tape. If you just go through games on the all 22, and look, I finally made it back to his 2020 couple of games on his 2020 tape, hoping something was just going to jump off at me for full games, and it never really did. Now within that, like I said, you start going through and if you look at highlights specifically, and that's why they're called highlights. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's aspects of it that go, wow, this kid. Here's where I view him. I view him as a guy that still is yet to. I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet, but I don't think he's done enough on tape. And then obviously the health concerns, and he rattled them off, during the interview with Stacey Dales on the NFL Network. Kidney infection. I think he said he had strep throat. Obviously the knee. It just seemed like it was always something with him. And obviously the loss of his younger sister to cancer and all like that. A team that drafts him before 32 just absolutely has to think that his ceiling is, a long way away from where he is right now. And, I was kind of hoping those arms would have measured in, longer than what they did. I mean, I thought he did fine as far as, we knew or at least I think we thought that we knew the athletic traits would be there, right?
Sure. Yeah. And he proved that. His numbers officially, 1.7, 110 split for 300 pounds is excellent.
And when you get to the Florida kid there, I never really have Dexter. He's one of the first guys I watched kind of right out of the chute, and he's another one. He's got good flashes within his tape. I think he just needs to be more consistent. He's another one that I think that you need to project on where his ceiling is. So my takeaway on both those two guys after digging into the tape, and then now that we have the combine measurables, is that neither one of those guys, I don't think, should be in play at 17. Now you get to 32 and beyond, I think it becomes a different story there. So that's where I'm at on those two guys that really, really fit from a past measurable standpoint.
I could still potentially see Brzee at 17. Dexter won't be in that conversation. He's going to be a day 2 guy. With Dexter, that's a guy I'm still trying to get more familiar with. We had taken him with the final pick in our Walk the Mock live stream we did over the weekend, so I was trying to learn a bit more about him. Just watching him move and work out. He's an athlete. He's got light feet, does play a little tall. Is a little bit upright of a guy, and you kind of worry about lack of leverage and the lack of length when you're playing a bit tall, and he's almost 6'6", and so that's going to potentially be an issue for him. This is kind of a Jeff Goldblum way of explaining how I found this information out, but somebody tweeted at me that it was Max Starks that said an interesting factoid here that Carl Dunbar, the Steelers defensive line coach, his son Carmichael Dunbar is one of the strength and conditioning coaches for Florida, and so you wonder if there's a little bit of a connection there. Dunbar was on the field yesterday working these guys out. So was his assistant, Denzel Martin. So it's a little bit of inside information that Carl Dunbar can get on Dexter from his son. I think that's a little factoid to file away.
Yeah, look, and it seemed like they had some familiarity, obviously, with Brzee, too. The way kind of Dunbar was walking them through the, and then I always watch who comes together at the end of all the sessions and all. Brzee was, kind of leading them right in the middle of that. Right. They're going to like this kid.
Right. Do you think it was, I don't think it was a coincidence that Pittsburgh got their D-line coaches on the field given the need yesterday. No, that's not a coincidence. They wanted to get as close of a feel to a lot of these guys, as possible. Who else, kind of fit, Benton's a guy that's close to the size and all, but I think we agree it'd be a reach for him to kind of be there to be the pick at 17 overall. But a nice workout for him. The numbers were good.
Yeah.
I mean, he showed the ankle flexibility, ability to corner and turn. His shuttle times were solid given the frame and the length. I mean, it was a solid day for Keanu Benton.
And look, I don't know what to do with Cansey and Adebawore. Your past, what the Steelers have done / bias factor. How do you equate that into all this? I mean, those two guys from an athletic, Adebawore for 282 pounds, running a 4.5, 4.40. I mean, geez Louise. I mean, what did he do? 10.5-inch broad jump, 37.5-inch vertical. I mean, this guy's an athletic specimen. And once again, he played up and down the line. I mean, if he's got a fault, it's that he's 6'1.5". I mean,
right. He's that tweener.
5'8".
Right. But I mean, I think honestly, his workout pound for pound was more impressive than what even Nolan Smith did, because Nolan Smith's a smaller guy and you expect those guys to be hyper athletes, maybe not to that degree, but you expect them to test well. To be 282 and put up a 4.49 official 40 at 282 is just insane. So pound for pound, that is even more impressive than what Nolan Smith did, who of course had a very impressive day.
Right. All right. So where are you on this defensive tackle class?
I feel a bit better.
Here's something that drives me mad as well too. And I guess I get it to some degree, but they have how do you classify some of these kids? Should Adebawore have worked with that first group of defensive tackles? I mean, technically he's grouped in with these, how many were there 31 edges, I guess you'd call them, or defensive ends, slash edges. And then obviously you have a handful of these edges working in the quote unquote linebacker group and all like that. And if you're looking at these guys on the linebacker sheet, yeah, some of them are going to just jump off the sheet with the measurables, but you have to make sure you know what position they actually play. Are they off the ball or are they edge? Type of guys. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think for me, the defensive line class, I felt a bit better about some guys I want to go back and watch, because I like to look at the length first and see which guys maybe clear that mark in my head of 33 plus inches. So guys like Mazi Smith from Michigan, who didn't work out but came in listed 6'3", 323, 33 and 3/4 inch arms. Byron Young from Alabama, Cameron Young from Mississippi State. Those are guys I want to go back and watch a bit more, because they have a closer profile to what Pittsburgh looks for that 3-tech, that 4-eye in the shade of Chris Wormley, Cam Hayward. So I'll be watching those guys over the next couple of days.
I mean, is Cansey a first-round guy?
Well, that's going to be the big polarizing debate, and my terrible take is on that today about what side of the coin people are going to be on and where NFL teams ultimately land. You look at the testing, the athleticism. It really just comes down to, like it does for all players, system and scheme fit. If you're going to ask him to be a 3-tech that penetrates, gets upfield, he's going to be worth a high pick. If you're not going to play to those strengths, then he's not going to work out. But it's interesting because the 40 time to 10 split are historically good. The arm length, the overall size profile is historically low. And so what end do you want to come out on? It's going to be a really interesting conversation to watch unfold.
Where do you come down on Adebawore?
Yeah, again, it's one of those things of what is your plan for him? I think the testing, the workout is obviously off the charts, but if you're an NFL team, you can't just draft this guy and say, we'll figure it out. There's got to be some intention, some plan for how you want to use him. And I think for both guys, especially Cansey, I don't see the Steelers system fit with, and I can't pronounce the last name like you can. They call him Tomey, the Northwestern kid, so I'll call him the same. Maybe there's a fit there, but you already have the Marvin Leal, who's kind of that hybrid guy. I don't think he's going to come to Pittsburgh.
All right, from where you are right now, what you saw yesterday and what you know, and I got a lot of film still to watch on a lot of these kind of mid to late round defensive linemen. It feels like it's going to be one of Brzee or Dexter if they draft a defensive tackle in the early stages.
I would throw Benton in there too.
Okay.
Would you not throw Benton in there?
Yeah, I would. I just I struggle with him at both 17 or 32.
Yeah, well, Dexter won't be at 17. I mean, Benton will be a 32 or 49 probably type of guy.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
I would put Benton in that group. Yeah, absolutely. But gotcha. 32 or the next one.
Sure. But overall, just fun to watch these guys work out. Good athletes, and some of the big nose tackles obviously didn't shine as much, but you have to take all that in context with Gerard Clark from Coastal Carolina and Siaki Ika from Baylor, and you're talking about some nose tackle options too for Pittsburgh because Tyson Alualu not going to be a Steeler in 23. Montravius Adams, what can you expect out of him? So I know we're talking about more of the defensive end 3-tech 4-eye types, but nose tackles as well. Those are a couple names to watch.
Could you see like a Mustafa, like a 7th round pick or something?
Yeah, I think you got 2 7th-round picks there. I mean, that would make sense. So if they're on the board, Mustafa, didn't test great, but, has the size and had a good Shrine Bowl week by all the accounts from the people that were there. So sure, I can see that.
And I think I think Josh has been really, really high on who is it? Coburn out of Texas.
Yeah, another one of those guys that does not have that great length. He really squatty body, kind of a Casey Hampton mold from Texas, like Hampton was 6'1", 5'8", 332, 31.5-inch arm. So I'm sure you're going to ask about feeding himself and things of that nature. One guy that had a really good workout, I don't know much about, but I saw draft Twitter saying we got to research this guy more. Probably not going to be a guy that lands in Pittsburgh, but Jalen Redmond from Oklahoma had a really strong testing across the board, 1.7, 110 split. 4.81 official 40, 34.5-inch vert. Basically one of the top testers of the day yesterday.
All right. So I think our main takeaway here is it's Brzee or Dexter or Benton, the most likely, defensive tackle selections.
Yeah, as I said here today, but I want to watch more from Mazi Smith. I know Tom Mead has talked about him and has been pretty high on that guy, a Michigan man. So, I don't want to – there's still a couple other names I want to go through, but those three certainly make a lot of sense.
Okay. All right.
All right, looking at the edge guys, Pittsburgh potentially could have some need there as well. And again, just a really strong athletic group overall. I'm not sure what player you want to start with. Obviously, Nolan Smith, we just mentioned – stole the show with a 4.39, 40, 41.5-inch vert, 10.8 broad. Is that a guy that Pittsburgh could look at? Will he get to 17 at this point? We can talk about that. To me, if you're going to consider a guy like Nolan Smith, he's got to be an off-ball guy. I think on the edge, he's going to be just too small to succeed in Pittsburgh.
He can cover some ground though on tape. So,
oh yeah,
and it's, he seems to be a fairly refined pass rusher as well too. The big thing down with him is that weight, just the overall size. I think. I mean, he's definitely an athlete, and he seems to be he's the one too, isn't he? That had right out of the chute had one of the best first day media sessions, and just really came off as a good kid there. I struggle with seeing him being the Steelers pick at 17.
Same, I do as well. Just for the fit, the need, the other positions this team could address. So really good workout. As you said, the interview he had was fantastic, but I don't see him being the guy for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I would think, and he's more of an edge guy than he is anything, right? And, talking about off the ball stuff.
Sure, it'd be more of a projection to try to kick him inside. Could he do it? I mean, potentially. But is that where Pittsburgh's going to go at 17? I don't see that happening. Right.
I mean, somebody's going to draft him, within those first two rounds, obviously. But
but he's probably going to be on the short list for just what they look for based on pro days. They're going to be at that Georgia pro day. So, I mean, we're going to have to talk about him at least some more, just given he's going to be a first round guy, and they're going to be at that pro day.
Right. I mean, and once again, he can get after the passer, and that athleticism of tracking down Young from Alabama. I mean, he can cover some ground.
What other edge guys that worked out yesterday, Dave, caught your attention? Somebody that you think, hey, this guy, could be a fit in Pittsburgh?
Man, I don't know. He ended up working with the quote unquote linebackers, but he's technically an edge, and he's a guy that I think you were on ahead of the Senior Bowl. Derek Hall out of Auburn. You watch. I got an opportunity to, way we watch this thing is we have to watch in time and make sure the spreadsheet, and we're jumping all over the place and trying to figure things and loosely trying to pay attention to the on the field workouts. But then later in the evening, I finally get to go back and actually watch some of these things. Derek Hall, I thought, put together a hell of a damn combine performance, and 34.5-inch arms, 10-inch hands, ran the 40 in 4.55, did 33.5. I mean, you talk about box checking. That guy should fit squarely whenever you start putting that. They'd be interesting to see. I guess he didn't run the shuttle, did he? Or at least we don't have the results on that, or the 3-cone. Maybe he's going to do that at his pro day. I think if you're looking at outside linebacker edge guys, and once again, he was grouped with the linebackers. To me, he's one guy that really jumped out as far as edges go.
If you want to build a Pittsburgh Steelers edge prospect, he's Derek Hall. I mean, he checks. I'm going to take a guess, and the agilities will be something to consider. I think there is some concern that maybe he's a little bit tight and he's better in a line, but I'm going to take a guess with all he worked out through yesterday. He's going to check every box in our what they look for study. I'll bet your house on that, Dave. And so that's a guy that plays with heavy hands, good tape, Power 5, productive. Sets a physical edge against Iran. I watched him at the Senior Bowl. Again, second round guy is probably going to be where he goes. So do you justify that at 32 or 49? We can talk about that, but just to the player, to the prospect, he's a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah, he really comes off of that, as that. And I think he's a guy too that as a rookie could help on special teams, right?
Yeah, I think he's got the size and the speed overall. I don't know how much he did it there, but yeah, I think he probably could do that.
Okay, who else do you want to talk about edges or what?
Yeah, just sticking with the edge group, then we'll move on to more of the true off-ball guys. I thought KJ Henry a bit disappointing with the workout overall. Just some of the explosion numbers, the broad, the vert, not where I want that to be. I thought Isaiah Foskey had a quietly solid day. Again, good size, really good build. Special teams value, a nice workout, 4.58 40 time, 1.66 10 split. The shuttles, what were his shuttles? Not the best overall, but that's a guy with good pedigree, good production, and a lot of size.
Tyler Wise is high on Uzama out of Kansas State there, and hard not to be with him. But the bad thing is he really didn't do anything. He went through the drills, though, I think, didn't he?
Did he? He didn't test. I can't remember what he did with the drills.
I seen him.
I think he did.
Yeah, I think he went through the drills and all like that. The thing with him that jumps out the most to me on the tape, I want to see these guys kind of play on their feet some, and he really didn't do that much of any at Kansas State.
Yeah, he was asked about that, I think, by one of our guys or somebody, and he said he did it a little bit, but they were a hand down type of team at Kansas State.
I think if you're looking a little bit later in the draft, Jose Ramirez could be a fit for this team. Who else here?
I'll give you just two names quickly. He didn't go through the 40, but Will McDonald, just to compete, apparently, and Peter Schrager had mentioned this a couple times on the broadcast. He had been sick all week. McDonald was a high fever, 103, 104, dropped some weight. So that's why he came in a bit later at 239. I imagine his playing weight and pro day weight is going to be closer to 245, 250, but still jumped out of the gym with a 36-inch vert, 11-foot broad, and just to be there and compete. And players or coaches and scouts want to see you go out there and work and push through and fight some of that adversity. And that's a guy that did that. So I think that's going to settle himself well with NFL teams. How about one name and a guy that I don't really know much about, but had one of the quietest, best workouts yesterday, Yaya Diaby from Louisville at 6'3", 263, 34-inch arms, 4.51 40 at that size, at that frame, 1.56 10 split, 37-inch vert, 10-inch broad. Again, Nolan Smith, I don't want to pick on him. Another really solid workout, going to be a first-round guy in all likelihood. But when you adjust for the weight and the size, what Diaby did to me is just as impressive, if not more so, than what Nolan Smith did, who's going to garner all the headlines.
Right. Diaby was a Shrine Bowl guy as well, too, I think. And, yeah, I haven't gone deep into his tape. Do we have a profile up on him yet?
I don't believe so, but I want to jump on that because that's a guy I won. 9 sacks last year. What is this guy missing right now? Right.
I'd like to look at his look at him from a pass rush standpoint, obviously. I'll add one more name on top of it. Guy that you got to watch down there at the Senior Bowl. There's 2 Byron Youngs, and it took me a couple of days during the Senior Bowl to figure out which one was which. But
and they were on the same team. Why would they put 2 Byron Youngs on the same team?
Right, but Byron Young out of Tennessee is the edge, and Byron Young out of Alabama is more the defensive tackle. The Byron Young out of Tennessee, you want to talk about a guy that kind of quietly put together a very nice combine. It's him, 6'2" and 3/8, what, a 4.43 official, according to them, official 40 time, 38-inch vertical, and 11-inch broad jump. It'd be interesting to end up seeing what his shuttle will be at his pro day and all. But you want to talk about another guy that quiet, with all that was going on and people, on the highlights of running and all like that. I thought he put together a nice combine, and he's another one at the Senior Bowl All 22 in the one-on-ones. I thought he represented himself well as a pass rusher, but maybe not so much as a run defender. I think he's probably going to be interesting to see if he lifts and what that comes out at. But I think he's another one that fits what the Steelers do as far as outside linebacker edge candidates, from that middle round on.
Yeah, that's another good suggestion. Just some news coming in right now, combine related from Daniel Jeremiah, because the way the combine's laid out this year, players do their bench press the day after their on-field workout. So the defense linemen working out on Thursday finished their combine experience with the bench today. Jeremiah tweeting out some of the notable numbers here. Mazzie Smith from Michigan mentioned earlier, 34 on the bench press. So that with long arms too, and to do 34 with that length is pretty ridiculous. Brian Brzee, 22, Miles Murphy, 25, Lucas Van Ness, 17, Zach Harrison, 25 with over 36-inch arms. So those are some of the bench press numbers coming in right now.
Okay. All right.
And maybe see if I can get the, I don't know if it's updated on the combine site yet or not, but I want to check that because I want to know what, Benton and those guys did too.
Let's see. Jomo did 29 reps. Benton did 25.
That's all.
Dexter did 22. So Dexter and Brzee did exactly the same amount there. Mustafa, who we just talked about, did 19.
Okay, a little bit underwhelming there for Mustafa.
Yeah.
Okay, you said Benton did how many? 25.
Benton did 25.
Okay, solid. And then again, for the length, you have to consider arm length. The longer your arms are, typically the less these guys bench. But did Cansey participate?
Does not look like he did.
Would love to know what his number is.
Adebawari did 27.
Yeah, again, just a super freaky because he's got length too. To do 27 for that length is pretty ridiculous.
I tell you another guy. If the if something happens and the Steelers don't get, one of, like we mentioned, Brzee or Dexter or Benton. I think, who was it? Jonathan Heitritter, I think, did a Colby Wooden out of Auburn. I think is someone that potentially a later round. He came in a little light in the pants, I think, at 273, but can he potentially put a little bit of weight on?
Or would he drop off and be an edge? Is that a possibility for him?
Right.
Because he's got length. And,
he's definitely a tweener.
Yeah. So I don't know too much about him. Watched him work out. I thought he moved, functionally all right. But one guy I'll have to go back and study some more.
Lucas Van Ness, kind of, all the buildup on him. What's your thoughts on what he did?
Well, the vertical and the jumps came out first, and they seemed pretty underwhelming. But if you look at the rest of the day, the way that he ran, I think in the 4.6s at his frame, because he's a really well built dude, 6'5", 272. His RAS score did come in super high, so I started off the day a little bit low on him, just generally, regardless of if Pittsburgh's going to take him or not. But I think when you put all the numbers together, the whole workout, pretty solid day for him. Again, there's a question of exactly where he's going to fit. I think he's a classic 4-3 defensive end is where he's going to wind up.
Probably the same for Baldonado out of Pitt, who seemed to represent himself pretty well.
Yeah, now he could be more of the edge. I mean, he's 6'4", 250, so he's a little bit lighter. He's got some length too, but a solid workout for him, a local Pitt guy. So that guy might have more, I think, attraction to the Steelers. I
think my global takeaway from the edges, the outside linebacker fits, if you will, now is that, man, this is a deep class and especially for what the Steelers look for. So let's say the plan for the Steelers this offseason is indeed to get Alex Highsmith locked up for at least 3 more years. You obviously got TJ Watt there. You might we'll see what they do with maybe signing a veteran, on the cheap, with some experience there. I think there's a lot of options for this team starting, let's say, even in round 3 and round 4, if that's where they wanted to attack the edge position. This is a deep class. And look, even on down into the 7th round, we'll see if they will and deal and pick up some of those later round picks there. But I mean, even if you got into the 7th round and you said, okay, we need to address an edge, I think this is a deep group from top to bottom that you could get a guy that ends up making the 53-man roster.
You tell me if you agree or not. It feels like it's easier to find those guys for Pittsburgh. It used to be really hard to find those edge rushers in coming out of college. They were really kind of more projections, hand down guys, just with the way college football's evolved with, more athleticism overall. The spread systems probably force these guys to play on their feet and play out in space and defend the field horizontally and chasing down mobile quarterbacks with a zone read game. I feel like it's easier to find those guys than it was 10, 15 years ago.
I think they're getting more athletic too,
Oh, yeah.
For sure. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it used to be you kind of look for that 6'2" to 6'3" guy. But now the Steelers are more in that 6'3" to 6'4" type range. Guys that 250 to 260, right?
Yeah, it just feels like there's more of those guys. Lamar Woodley was a hand down guy that was really big, that was still big in Pittsburgh, maybe dropped a little bit, at least early on before he got paid. And then you kind of had to project some of the coverage stuff. There's still a projection, but I just feel like, with more defenses are more multiple, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so that probably makes that projection a little bit cleaner than it used to be.
Well, I definitely view this edge class as being a lot deeper for what the Steelers look for than the defensive tackle class.
I'm with you 100%.
So within that, I would be very shocked if we saw an edge at 17.
Oh yeah. I don't think that's going to happen, just given the need and given the depth of the class.
And really for that matter, I think I'd be surprised if I saw an edge at 32, but I don't want to rule that out.
Do you think 49 is where that conversation becomes more realistic?
I do.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, if Hall's there at 49, tough guy for me to ignore.
Woo. Yeah, and he's another one I want to go deeper into the tape. How'd you view him against the run?
Hall?
Yeah.
I haven't done the profile on him, but watching him at the Senior Bowl, I mean, he's got the size, the strength, the power, the tenacity. He was setting a really physical edge down in Mobile, some of those 9-on-7 type drills. So I think run defense is just fine with him.
Yeah. He's a guy that I think, I don't know, where would you kind of slot him? 3rd, 4th round?
No, I think it's a day 2 guy. I think he might be the guy at 49.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Let's talk about off-ball linebackers. And again, just the whole theme of probably this entire combine, and certainly that group was just, they were flying. I mean, some of the times were ridiculous, and that's happening every year as the trainings become more, important and stressed, individualized. I mean, the numbers are just insane. To me, though, I couldn't stop talking yesterday about Jack Campbell from Iowa. And I thought about him going into the combine, mentioned his name a couple of times, even back during the college football season. That's a guy that kind of feels like a Steeler. He's got the size. The question was about overall athletic ability. Could he be more than just the quote unquote thumper? I think he proved those guys wrong with the way that he ran 4.65 at 249. The verts were great, 37.5 inch in the vert, 10.8 in the broad, and the shuttle times, especially for that change in direction, which will be such an important trait in coverage. Best of his group, 4.24 short shuttle, 6.74 3-cone, the best of not only the off-ball linebackers, the best of anybody that worked out, edge rushers, defensive linemen, whoever, by a considerable margin, only 1 or 2 players to be under 7 seconds in the 3-cone. What a day for Jack Campbell.
He is 22 22, going to be 23. Does that change anything? I mean, look, they're going to like the guy from a leadership role and the football IQ. I dove into his tape is certainly there. He's a leader, that kind of stuff there. And he did pass the sniff test on the athleticism and all like that. A little bit tall, a little bit taller than what they normally look for, right? Though, isn't it normally around 6'1", 6'2"? When was the last time they really drafted a guy in the first, let's say, 3 rounds taller than that?
Well, I would say how many guys are of Jack Campbell's size in today's college football world? It's all about the guys that are 6'2", 225 that can run a 4.4, like the Devin Bush types. And usually you don't see the guys of Campbell's frame. So I just think there's a scarcity to that build, which makes him all the more intriguing. He's not your typical, he's fast and can run, but can he actually cover? Can he play the nuances of football? And can he take on blocks? So I think that makes Campbell all the more attractive. So I don't think there's been that body type taken in a while. I mean, but how many body types are there similar to Jack Campbell?
As far as guys that I really think, Yasser Abdullah out of Louisville, I think fits what the Steelers definitely look for as far as, from a measurable standpoint. I think Banks out of Tennessee is another one. Jack Campbell, obviously, out of Iowa. I tell you, going back to the Shrine Bowl, he would obviously be a later round guy. That Orgy out of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, he ran well. What did he
4.53, 38. I had a feeling he'd test well. And he even did so at 230. I kind of wondered if he might come in one of those guys that drops, that comes in, low 220s to make sure he ran fast, kind of thing. But the listed weight that they had on him was 230, and he still ran 4.53 and just jumped out of the building too. And the shuttle. What does the shuttle with those guys generally need to be? Do you remember off the top of your head? And the 3-cone?
I don't have a specific number for the off-ball guys. For me, with the pass rushers, sub 7-second 3-cone is really good. Anything sub 6.89 is kind of elite that really has a good measure of NFL success. For off-ball, I'm a little less certain of, but he ran, 7 flat, which I think is just fine for him.
Trenton Simpson obviously fits too. Another little bit larger kid. Who else in here? I
mean, an obvious name, but he didn't run and didn't really work out, but did the on-field stuff. Drew Sanders from Arkansas, just, again, really fluid, change of direction guy, good athlete overall. You can just tell he's really well put together. And again, one of those guys that has some size at 6'4", 235. And so it's a body type that you don't typically see. Because, again, you look at the list of the names here, all these guys are 6'2", 230, they run 4.5. To see somebody that's a different style, different body type is always, to me, pretty eye-catching.
And after the combine's over, maybe we need to separate the edges from the true off, what we would probably consider the off the ball guys, because there's a list of 34 names in the linebacker group, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, looks like 12 of them, I think would probably classify in the edge room, so you're down to 20 or so to choose from, and probably a good half of them I think would fit what the Steelers look for. So I would call that a fairly deep class when it comes to what the Steelers look for, and we would be surprised if they don't draft an off-the-ball guy, right?
I think they will. I mean, we'll see how free agency goes, who they retain, what external guys they do or don't bring in. But probably at some point, just given they're going to lose some pieces there in Devin Bush and potentially Marcus Allen. 2 more names for you.
Real quick on Jack Campbell. It's just some of the – I'm going to have to go back and watch more on him because, some of that change of direction – I got to find on the tape.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's some tape out there, and obviously he's not going to move quite the way that some of these other guys move, but I certainly think when you look at the way that he tested, that's going to soothe some of those concerns.
Sure. I just want to go and match it up, now and say, okay, because I think I watched the Ohio State game. Trying to remember what other game I watched of him last year. He just felt a little clunky in his change of direction.
Yeah, again, he's never going to move quite the way those tiny guys. Well, I do have one clip, the article I wrote this morning on Jack Campbell, and this was a clip from Ben Fennell, who does a great job with college prospects, that has him covering a slot receiver underneath and kind of a shake whip route and able to run with that and make the tackle. So I do see some of that stuff on tape. But I know that you mentioned his age. He was, like a 5-6 year guy in college, and so he's a bit older, but past the first round.
Yeah, and plus they like to see those multiple years of production too, which he has.
Yeah, he has that. Now, the age, a little bit of a concern, but I think it's maybe more of an issue. We're talking first round pick, and we aren't for Campbell. I think we're talking now definitely second round, 32 or 49. And I think his age is maybe a good thing because this guy might have to come in and play right away. You want a guy with some experience and some been there, done that, and that leadership ability that you talked about. So to me, his age is not too big of a concern.
Do you feel good overall, fairly good about this class, especially from where the Steelers might be selecting an inside linebacker?
Sure. I think the off-ball class is strong. One guy I do want to mention, too, Shaka Hayward. And I believe Hayward had said that he is distant cousins with Cam and Connor, but they've never met before. So the connection really isn't that great. But putting that aside, 6'3", 235, 34-inch arms, 4'5", 340. A nice workout for him. Nice day overall. One guy I thought that was disappointing, and this is an edge guy, thought Andre Carter from Army. I just don't see it with him. He's too long, too lean. The testing wasn't good. 30-inch vert, 9'1" the broad. He's eligible to play, which is going to be good for him, obviously, but I just don't see it there with Carter.
It seemed like he got ate up at the Senior Bowl in the one-on-one run. And some pass rushing drills as well too. It seemed like he got swallowed up, and for a guy his size, lengthwise, really didn't expect that.
Yeah, the body type. He's an awkward mover. He's really thin lower half. I just can root for the guy, but I just don't see it there with him.
Where's the kind of where do you, with today's off the ball linebackers getting a little bit lighter? Where is kind of if a guy comes in at that 223,
I mean, it's always a concern just about, because I don't think just because you're small and fast doesn't mean that you can cover. There's so many nuances to the game, as Devin Bush has shown, that just ticking those boxes really doesn't, remember in that class, it was Devin White, Devin Bush, the two Devins that were really fast, really athletic. Both of them really aren't good coverage guys. Bush certainly never became one. And so it's about the tape. Can you take on blocks? And again, I look at the AFC North. You're playing Baltimore, smash mouth, downhill, power run game. To play in Cleveland, that's going to be a bit more open in 23 with Watson, but still multiple tight ends and tackling Nick Chubb. Cincinnati tackling Joe Mixon, provided he returns next year. You better get some linebackers that can play downhill.
Guys, I have checked that I need to dive into their film is Abdullah out of Louisville, Banks out of Tennessee. Want to go back and watch more Jack Campbell. Henley, I got a pretty good feel for. I think he's more of a later round guy. Shaka Hayward, as you mentioned. And I got a good feel about Orgy. I think he's more out of Vanderbilt. He's more of a later round guy. And Trenton Simpson.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I do want to look at Hayward a bit more. I thought I watched him at the Senior Bowl. They're pretty similar. The Dorian Williams from Tulane, D. Winters from TCU, a bit on the smaller side, but Williams has good length. They both tested fantastically. So yeah, I think overall the inside linebacker class is strong. Even Noah Sewell, I know there's a lot of kind of polarization with him. What kind of player is he? But again, guy with some size. I thought I had a good workout overall.
Did you get hotter on Campbell since this combine started?
Yeah, it's hard not to. I mean, with the way that he had, fantastic testing. Now he's a guy that I've kicked around for a while, and I'm going to have a mock draft, my first kind of official non-Senior Bowl Steelers mock draft, probably on Monday. He's a guy I was considering pretty heavily prior to the combine, but I think certainly coming out of Indy, even more so. The only concern is I thought maybe he'd be a later second, third round kind of guy. Probably not the case anymore. So if you want him, his price tag just went up.
I mean, and even before the combine, it was hard not to circle him as the Steelers are going to like this guy.
Yeah, I just think, and we don't know exactly what's in their head, but they probably want that different body type. They want somebody that's more physical, not going to go with the small, undersized, hybrid type guy and try to coach him up. They want more of that refined product, and Jack Campbell is that guy.
All right, let's play. I imagine you got the sheet right there in front of you there.
Yep, I see. We're both editing. We both clicking along here. I see you.
Let's of these three, let's call them three position groups: defensive line, edge, linebacker, or off the ball linebacker. Let's go 12 names that we definitely, 4 from each position group that we definitely could see being Steelers picks.
Okay, you want to start with D-line?
Yeah, and I think we're going to be similar, obviously, on a lot of these here.
Yeah, we just mentioned them. Benton.
Yeah, Benton, Dexter, Brazee. I'll
say Mazzy Smith is the 4th.
Okay, I will say he's more of a nose, but I'll say Coburn.
Okay, any particular reason?
I just think for someone, that you could maybe get late round, him or Mustipher. I mean, they're going to like Mustipher, but he's going to be a much, much later guy. Now, that's not saying I don't think they like Kalijah Cansey. It's just going to be interesting to see, from the measurable standpoint there.
Yeah, I don't expect him to come to Pittsburgh. I think he'll be a top pick. I don't know exactly where or to who, but not to the Steelers.
All right, so that would be our 4 there. Now let's go to the edge rushers. I think we both agree that
Derek Hall.
Yeah, Derek Hall's gonna. I'm on the wrong. But see, that's why they get these edges mixed with these linebackers here. I think Derek Hall will definitely be on that list.
This one's a bit tougher.
Yeah, I think Diaby will be on the list.
Okay. I'll say Anaduke Uzama. I know he didn't work out, but he's got the size and the power I think Pittsburgh will like.
I could agree with that. I think Ramirez later, much later.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Byron Young and McDonald.
Okay. So you're for Hall.
I would definitely put Young in. Hall would be in my 4. I think Byron Young would be in my 4. Diaby, I got to watch more of him though. I really got to watch more of him. And I mean, just Ramirez, just because Mac, late round production, all-star kid, Shrine Bowl kid. So that would be my 4.
Okay. Yeah, I'll say Hall, Uzama. I was thinking Ramirez too, so I'll go with you on Ramirez as that late round, 7th round pick for all the reasons you mentioned directly. And then maybe another later round guy. I'm trying to, as you said, they're kind of jumbled these names up here a little bit. Lonnie Phelps of Kansas is a guy I've talked about some.
Yeah,
you
did. You
talked
about him at the Senior Bowl quite a bit.
Yeah, so I'll go. I won't go with all top round picks. I'll have Ramirez and Phelps as my final 2.
All right, off the ball. Campbell, obviously, going to be in that group. I think Yasir Abdullah is going to be in that group. I think. I haven't watched Shaka Hayward. Just a Twitter thing or two here. With him, this is where it gets harder because I got to catch up on film here.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Sanders, an obvious name at the top, but I think if you're going to put Campbell in there, I got to put Drew Sanders in there too.
Right. I think Orgy, if you're talking about late round guys, I don't see how he wouldn't be on their list there. I can't talk on Shaka because I just haven't watched the tape on him yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but a nice day for him. A guy that I want to go
Banks,
back.
I think watch. Banks is another one that I got to go watch more of too.
Was he productive in college? I think he was a little bit light, like 50-something tackles last year. I don't know if that was an injury or what the case was with Banks, but
yeah,
production maybe wasn't as strong.
I think from the measurables though, he's going to check a lot of Alex Kozora's boxes. Maybe that. I think that's there. So anyway, that's a good list of about, I don't know, we probably ended up each with about 15 instead of 12 there. Somebody write those down somewhere so we can come back to them at some point there. But that's just the feel that I got. And once again, man, you look at this and you think you know a little bit about some of these guys, and then it helps me whittle down a list of, okay, these are guys that I got to go watch now.
Right. I think it's good for me just to get more exposure, to get some eyes on this group. And so I know some people will certainly downplay and dismiss all the combine numbers. And obviously you don't want to become beholden to them. And there are the prisoner of the moment type things you have to fight against, but it's just fun. It's fun to watch these guys work and test and do really well. And I enjoy it.
I view it as kind of reverse engineering it,
in the sense of,
but we don't know as much of these. Yeah. We don't know as much about these guys, obviously as the teams do going into this. And, they use the combine more as confirmation, whereas I think we work backwards, right? I tend to work backwards on a lot of these guys.
And it looks like some bench press numbers for the linebackers coming in. Only 2 listed. I don't know if there were more coming, if only 2 participated. But Jeremy Banks, you just mentioned 25 on the bar, which is a very strong number. Servaka Dennis from Pitt with 19.
What is the arm length generally? Do you remember that in the box need to be checked for arm length?
I want to say 32. Let me see if I can...
I love those articles, and it could be, you're interested in those right now from moving forward with Omar Khan. Is how much do they,
sure,
how much value will there be in those moving forward with Andy Weidel and Omar Khan and
different scouting staff too,
right.
Sadowski and Colbert and a higher role. Looks like actually 31. So there really wasn't a strong correlation with arm length. Read off the off the ball linebacker box numbers here. Now this could change because I got to put in Mark Robinson for 23. So I don't know if the numbers will shift there, but what I have for 22 was 6 foot, 225, 31-inch arms, 9-inch hands, 20 on the bench press, 4.8 40 or faster, 32 vert, 4.4 short shuttle, 7.2 3 cone. Now some of that data we don't have based on not many guys benching. And
I tell you, Banks hit all of what you just read except for the 3 cone.
And what do you do in the 3 cone?
7.27.
It's pretty close, yeah. And obviously, I have that one box away because not every single prospect checks literally every single box. So, yeah, I mean, you just might have made the case for Jeremy Banks right there.
Now, I don't know where his draft stock is. I don't have a clue on that right now. Now I'm curious to see what his production was.
I can look up where he's being mocked, which I know is only one thing.
You do that, and I'll read off the stats here real quick with him.
His mock is undrafted in terms of the aggregate based off what mock draft database is saying, but his stock probably comes up some based off this workout.
Let's see. He played 10, 17, 30, 41 games over 5 seasons. He's another one that's going to be a little bit older, isn't he?
Some of the COVID stuff still, where it's creating that older class.
Boy, his 2021 season, he had 128 total tackles, 11.5 for loss, 5.5 sacks, an interception, 4 passes defense. Now, last season, it looks like he missed a couple of games, 11 games, just 53 total. I wonder why that's a huge drop, even though he missed 2 games. Why was the production down?
Mm-hmm.
That's something you have to figure out there.
Sure.
But you talk about a guy that's going to leave college with over 200 total tackles, 18 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, all came in 2021, 3 interceptions. He's going to check the production box.
Yeah, that's a good point. I knew his production this past year was a bit down. I didn't know what it was prior, so that's good to hear.
Was he a captain?
I do not know. But that would certainly help if he was, based on what Pittsburgh prioritizes.
I can't find it right out of the chute here. I'll have to research that.
We'll get a report on him, I'm sure, before the draft begins.
All right.
All right. Any other thoughts here? We got the DBs running today, so I'm excited for that group. I think it's a really strong corner class. We'll see who can separate themselves. Should note Devon Witherspoon is not going to test or work out. Suffered a hamstring injury. Didn't even meet with the media because he was tied up with the medical yesterday. So no Witherspoon today. We'll watch Joey Porter Jr. and Christian Gonzalez and Cam Smith. And I'm a huge fan. Just had the report go up today on Darius Rush, the other South Carolina kid. I think that's a real underrated guy in this class. I think he might be a day 2 pick. He's going to have a great combine workout. He was a multi-sport star in college, or in high school, I should say, was a receiver to start his college career, flipped to corner. This guy's going to run well. He's going to jump well. I think he's pretty nuanced and technical for how kind of new he is to the position, and a really good man coverage corner.
Oh, Jeremy Banks was another one of those converted running backs.
Oh, okay. Like a high school running back, or was he in college at all playing running back?
Played both running back and linebacker for the Volunteers. He started his career as a running back at Tennessee before moving to linebacker.
Okay, nice.
He was also one of those kids that evidently had to be reinstated. Jeremy Banks is back on the Tennessee football team. This was from 2020. Dismissed in October after a pair of incidents, including a September arrest. So they're going to have to do some character stuff on him.
Yeah, that's another thing to watch, because for the final post Martavis Bryant, Mike Adams, Pittsburgh had not touched anybody with even the faintest whiff of character concerns. And does that change under Kahn and Weidl?
Okay. As far as the cornerbacks go, I mean, I don't know. We'll obviously learn more today, but the Steelers sure did seem to meet with quite a few of them, right? And Joey Porter Jr., I think we would agree would be the guy that of say the top 3 or so. I mean, you're not expecting Gonzalez or Witherspoon, at least from where we sit right now, to drop to 17.
No, Gonzalez, I had the video yesterday, called him the dream candidate, and emphasis on dream, because that's probably the only way he becomes a Steeler is in my dreams.
I think where the discussion starts is does Joey Porter Jr. Really likable kid too. I thought just from his combine interview and all like that, he addressed his lack of interceptions, lack of, really wasn't targeted all that much, admitted that he's got to probably be less grabby, at the NFL level. Obviously dad being Joey Porter has the connections back to the Steelers. And I thought his combine interview was pretty flawless. I think the question now becomes is he indeed a top 3 cornerback in this class? And if that's the case, does he make it to 17? But if he does make it to 17, could that guy be the guy?
It doesn't take much effort to connect him to Pittsburgh, that's for sure. And I think of the big 3, Gonzalez, Witherspoon, Porter, he's got the best chance to get to 17, but how good of a chance is that still remains to be seen. We'll see what the workout is today. I really want to see what his weigh-in is in terms of that length. I've heard so much about he might have record-setting arm length, 34, 35 plus inches. I don't know if they're going to be that long. They probably at least should be 33 plus, maybe 34 or 35. Then that'll be pretty crazy. So that's, of that top 3, the guy that's most likely to slip to Pittsburgh.
And you could see him being the pick if he did fall that far, right?
Yeah, I mean, just for all the obvious reasons, again, doesn't take much to twist my arm to say, yeah, that could happen. And so, will it? Who knows? But an obvious name.
I mean, he would, I mean, yeah, once again, the big question, I think, is will he or won't he be there?
What other corners are you watching today? You like Riley Moss from Iowa? You talked about him a little bit.
No, I think that's more Jonathan because he's an Iowa guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, who have you talked about, or anyone else that you're watching?
Let me pull up the list here. I mean, there's obviously going to be a lot of conversation about Brian Branch, but the deeper you get into his stuff, and you're talking about a guy that should kill it, right? At the combine, but he's a slot guy. He's a box / slot guy.
Right.
who can rotate into a deep center field if you needed him to. There's just nothing on him. Where is his value high enough for what he gives you as a slot / box guy to warrant being the 17th overall?
Sure, I get that. And where exactly do you play him? You make him the 17th pick, he's going to get on the field right away. Where is that spot at? Not saying that you can't find one, but I just want to have that clear plan. He's a little bit too light to kind of be that consistent, strong safety against 12 personnel. Is he going to be a slot guy, outside? I mean, I just don't know exactly where he plays.
I mean, I think you have to play him in the slot almost in all situations that you have a slot on the field for,
Yeah.
Once again, there's not really that. There's not, I think he played, what did I see? Something like 50 career snaps on the outside.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Something around those numbers there. So, I mean, if you're drafting this guy, you're drafting him to be able to cover some of these tight ends and all like that, I mean, I'm expecting him to really perform well. I mean, assuming he's not one of those that's saying he's not going to work, right? From what
I'm not aware of that. I mean, sometimes you don't know until they line up, but
right.
I've not heard anything about him not testing.
Who else on this list here? Forbes is going to be interesting to watch go through the paces today.
See what Julius Brents runs. I mean, he'll get some Tariq Woolen comps. You probably can see on that graphic on NFL Network with Woolen, but can he run like him? I don't know if he'll quite be there, but I think, he'll have a good profile overall.
Interested to see the athletic profile on Ringo, someone that's people have been trying to connect and all.
I want to see the agility times on him. I think he's got straight line speed. Can he turn? Can he flip his hips?
I tell you, that Terrell Smith's a physical kid, and how could he not be at 200? I think he's listed at around 200 there. I
know Owen likes Clark Phillips from Utah. I don't know much about him, but Owen's really spoken highly of his game.
Owen also likes the Keitrell Clark.
Okay.
As a slot guy.
Louisville.
Yeah,
gotcha.
out of Louisville there. I looked a little bit at Cam Brown. I'm not feeling it with him out of Ohio State. Yeah, KY Blue Kelly is obviously someone easy to connect to the Steelers as a later round guy out of Stanford. There's a connection there. Owens, the couple of guys that you mentioned. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit shorter list. I mean, but here's the thing, that they sure did meet with a lot of them.
Yeah, I think it's a really strong corner class. I think at safety, it lacks that true number one guy, maybe lacks that potential first-round pick, some late first-round guys potentially, and Antonio Johnson from A&M. I think there's some tightness in his lower half, so I want to see with him moving out there in open space and some of the agility times, the short shuttle, the three-cone. Jordan Battle, I think, has the potential to be a top safety. I just think he's got to trust himself more. His tape, I thought, was pretty frustrating to watch, and so it's hard to really rubber stamp him. Can somebody else emerge? Jamie Robinson from Florida State. I want to see Sidney Brown work out, a really fun, physical, high-energy slot/safety from Illinois. Got his brother, too, Chase Brown. So what safety can stick out is going to be something to watch for.
Outside of the top corners really in this class, that's all I really know about this class at that position. I haven't really attacked that position yet. Forbes has got my interest, though.
Yeah, a little bit light questions about that. He had some answers that he, was durable in college and it shouldn't be a concern, but what does he weigh in at exactly? Probably about $180. So that's a little bit lighter to consistently play on the outside. One guy I don't know a ton about, I've seen a couple clips of going back to safety, is Christopher Smith from Georgia. Another one of those Georgia guys, surprise, surprise. And so that's a guy that I think has some good tape. Doesn't have the ideal size, but I think he's a pretty physical player with good angles with the football.
Okay. All right. I got a lot of work to do on, and I haven't touched the safety class yet.
Okay, gotcha. Lonnie Phelps, 31 on the bar. That is a healthy number for him.
How long were his arms?
Decent length. Where do they list him at? Linebacker. 32 3/8, which for 6'2", I mean, you gotta, it's okay. It's not great, but 31 on the bar, that will do.
All right. Obviously I think the Jair Brown should test pretty well, right?
Yeah. Anyone who goes to Penn State seems to run a 4.3 something. You're a DB, you're going to run like crazy.
Okay. What else do we have?
I think we want to get to some reader emails, but before we do that, Dave, let's hear again from our friends over at MyBookie.
Yeah, the NFL season has come to an end, but at MyBookie, the opportunities to win don't stop. Whether you bet to earn or to make the games more exciting, MyBookie gives you the most for your money with their redesigned deposit bonus. Getting started is easy. Just visit mybookie.ag and use promo code TERRIBLE as promo code TERRIBLE to claim a bonus up to $2,000. Use promo code TERRIBLE to get a deposit bonus that gives you extra funds to play with all the way up to $2,000. With MyBookie, bet on the NBA, NHL, UFC, or play for a share of big cash prizes in the weekly online blackjack tournaments that they have. With so many brands to choose from, you need a platform that makes it simple to bet and win like MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie, and you can get there by going to mybookie.ag. And please make sure if you sign up, you use promo code TERRIBLE to take advantage of their redesigned deposit bonus.
All right, Dave, let's get to some reader emails and close out today's show.
It seemed like they visited with a lot of tight ends as well, too, doesn't it?
Have they? I know this has been in some informal stuff. They did apparently have a formal with Michael Mayer, which guy that's going to be one of the top tight ends, and it's a really deep tight end class too, so worth checking out. I mean, if they don't re-sign Gentry, then yeah, that becomes a underrated need for this team.
All right, let's see here. This is from Roger Johnstone. Could you tell us what teams pay their number one corners? Because that's what Sutton is, no matter how they use him. Also, I tend to think in terms of what teams pay the position, not what they pay each player. If Pickett's on his rookie deal, you can afford to pay Trubisky to be the backup. You can afford lots of things if you're not paying the quarterback $30 million. I think he had back-to-back emails here. If I can find the first one here, cost versus use. He says, "Hi, fellas, appreciate your work as always. Alex seems to say if you pay Sutton $13 million, you're paying a travel corner money, so you should use him that way. If the market says his value is $13 million, that's what you have to pay to keep him. It's a simple question, yes or no, and even Alex has said yes, he'd pay it and keep him. If you pay it and keep him, don't let the money determine the role." He says, use him as his best fit. If that's to travel, good. If that's as a highly competent Swiss Army knife, also good. But payment and use are two different questions, he says, determined by different things. The market sets a price, the team's defensive needs set the other. Related, yes, but price shouldn't determine blah, blah, blah. Dave has compared Sutton to the top 15 highest paid corners. He says, do all of them travel? I'd have to go back and look at all of them. I'm not going to do that in show. I'd like to see them pay Sutton and draft the team's next year number one corner this year, hopefully at 32, not at 17. Then with luck to be set at 1 and 2 corners, number 1 and number 2 corners for 3 years, paying only at premium price, the other on a rookie deal. Recently, you mentioned Devin Bush's apparently pretty good tackle stats. He says, I wish somebody tracked yards after contact, blah, 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 that way. Look, Roger, I think, Alex and I both agree that they're going to re-sign Cameron Sutton, or at least we think they are. And I think I think where the discrepancy comes in at between Alex and myself is the number, and really myself and most everybody else. I'm probably the outlier that has Sutton, around 13 million. I think the big question is the price, and I guess really where it becomes out of the realm of possibility.
I understand the idea that the money should necessarily impact and dictate the role, but the reality is it does, just in the way that how many times have you heard players, talk about, well, there was a first round pick ahead of me. I was the better player, but they played this guy because he was the first round pick. And just an example of your situation, what they're paying you, what they've invested in you in part, I think dictates how you get used, how you get viewed, what expectations are. And so, yeah, they wouldn't have to travel Sutton. It just makes sense. Not only would that be a lot of money just in general, it would be the highest paid corner in Steelers history on a per year basis, correct? If he got 13, right. 14 per year. And so that says something as well for Pittsburgh that has not generally spent a lot of money on that position. I understand the cap goes up, but even just relative to those things, still a ton of money. So I don't want to belabor the point more. I understand that point. I think I've made it clear, and we'll just see what the number comes in at. But again, I'm still all for and wanting to re-sign Sutton and certainly seeing the value in Cam Sutton.
Jeremy Miller writes, and I'm sure you guys have seen the picture. Tomlin smiling at Brzee. He's obviously talking about last year's pro day at Clemson. Yeah, look, I mean, I tweeted that out a couple of weeks ago for sure. And then don't forget, Nick Eason was the defensive line coach there. There's links there. There's, as we mentioned for a couple of weeks now, I think. They're going to like Brian Brzee. Is just where do they like him at? He says, Jeremy says, true love. Go ahead after placing a help disclaimer and bet Dave's house on this kid spending time in black and gold during his career, he says. Love all you do, the spirit and direction of the depot. Your current draft coverage is next level. Thanks for that, Jeremy. Look, he's going to be a guy they like. Just where do they like him?
Yeah, do they like him enough to take him at 17? Do they trust the traits, trust the projection? That's going to be the question.
Eric writes in, as the subject says, not really a question, but perhaps something to discuss with the draft and free agency coming. D-line jargon. You rattle off 0 tech, 4 tech, 5 tech, etc. How this guy is suited to one but not another. Perhaps some simple explanations in various types and what you look for each. I grew up on nose tackles, ends, and linebackers, but now it seems they all have numbers. Yeah, I mean, it's something that we talk about. We try to break down almost annually, maybe on the podcast. I don't know. Maybe Alex, you could do a video on one of those after we get past the combine.
Yeah, wouldn't be a bad idea. I got to work on that too. I try to say when I say, 4 tech, I try to say the Cam Haywards, Chris Wormley, try to put some names to it to visualize. But, 4 tech, somebody inside shade on the offensive tackle, 5 tech, somebody outside shade, 0 tech, somebody that's head up over center. If you just look up, numbering system, defensive line, football, it's pretty simple, but we'll try to remind ourselves to have some more better explanations and make sure we're not talking over anybody.
Number 2 for Eric says, Bill Parcells' quarterback rules. We know his rules, but I think it'd be interesting to see how true they hold historically and currently. Are they good metrics for projecting NFL success? Outliers aside, he says, I realize we're not drafting a number 1 quarterback this year, but have had some anyway by some means, he says. Here's the thing. Look, I always have enjoyed the 7 rules of Bill Parcells and all like that. But here's what's kind of watered it down now is these kids coming out earlier and earlier, so you lose the game started, you lose the graduated one of those. I think because of how the NFL has progressed and with these kids coming out earlier and also with the spread offenses, I tell you what I would like to have an updated Bill Parcells quarterback rules. I got to be honest, Eric, I'm not going to have time to go back and look at some of this and how it holds historically. I will say this from a Steelers standpoint that I think we learned or which was one of the rules and completion percentage really ranks highly, and why shouldn't it?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Within all that. But as far as going through each rule and breaking down historically, I mean, there's really no need to at this point. I mean, I enjoy that you're fascinated with Eric. I know it's something I've always leaned on in the past. However, for all the reasons I mentioned, I would like to see an updated Bill Parcells 7 rules, if you will. If that makes sense there.
Yeah, I'd love to know what those are because you're right. It feels a little outdated, but I don't know if Parcells is ever going to update his stuff.
Rick Smith. Hey, Dave and Alex. It's Rick from Delaware. I wonder what your take is on Deonte Banks, corner from Maryland at the second round at, I think, 32 overall, or Steve Avila, guard from TCU, with our second round pick of round 2. To me, Banks seems comparable to Porter Jr., and Avila seems to be a tough road grader. I don't know enough to talk about Deonte Banks. Have you watched any of Deonte Banks out of Maryland yet?
No, I haven't yet, but yeah, it has good size. There's some connections there maybe to Pittsburgh. So guy we'll watch today in Avila. Somebody that's tough, strong along the interior. Will Pittsburgh draft somebody out west? We'll see. Well, I guess
a little squattier too, right?
Yeah, he's definitely a squattier body, but yeah, I get the idea there in round 2.
We'll learn more about those two guys as the combine progresses here for sure. Nick,
all right, I think we got, I don't know if you're going to wrap things up. We got a couple apparently pretty important interviews that are just coming in with Jordan Addison, especially speaking right now.
All right, we'll do it. Apologize we didn't get to your question today. We'll try to fit some of these in a future show on Monday. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button, upper navigational bar. I've added the combine results to the navigational bar up top for an easy way for you to find that. Alex and I will obviously be tracking all the combine results in real time as best as possible here throughout the rest of the combine. So make sure you bookmark that page and check it frequently, please. So in the meantime, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.